My name is Major General Joyce Sitienei, a serving officer of the Kenya Defence Forces, and currently the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the National Defence University, Kenya, overseeing the Center for Security and Strategic Studies. My military profession spans command, training, strategic leadership in peace operations, beginning from the early 2000s. Shortly after the adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325. I became involved in peace operations at a time when Africa was facing increasingly complex conflicts that required multidimensional responses. These environments required not only military capability, but also required diplomacy, protection of civilians, and inclusive leadership. And from the outset, I was convinced that sustainable peace could not be achieved and cannot be achieved without the active participation of women, a principle that lies at the core of the Women, Peace and Security agenda. One of my proudest achievements in peace operations is my contribution to the professionalization and institutionalization of peace operations through training. And this is through development of leadership and policy engagement. During my time as the director of the International Peace Support Training Center, I championed the integration of the Women, Peace and Security agenda principles into training, doctrine, and pre-deployment preparation. And this work sought to position the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 not as a policy add-on, but as an operational imperative essential to mission effectiveness. I am particularly proud of mentoring officers, especially women, who have gone on to serve and lead with distinction in the African Union and United Nations peace operations. This has led to a pipeline of confident, capable leaders who have shown the most enduring outcomes of my work. In peace operations, I encountered both institutional and cultural challenges, particularly in male-dominated environments, where women were often required to repeatedly prove their capability and leadership authority. And I navigated these challenges through professional excellence, discipline, and ethical consistency, allowing performance to speak louder than bias. While the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 provided an important normative framework, translating its commitments into operational reality requires resilience, leadership, and collective effort. Mentorship and professional alliances were therefore very essential, ensuring that progress did not depend solely on individual perseverance, but on systemic change. In my leadership and academic roles, I consistently advocate for deliberate policies that promote women's recruitment, participation, and progression in peace operations, in line with the participation pillar of the UN Security Council 1325. At both the IPSTC and the National Defence University Kenya, I have supported training that integrates women, peace and security principles, protection of civilians, leadership in complex environments, gender analysis, prevention of conflict-related sexual violence, strategic decision-making, mental resilience, and ethical leadership. For women peacekeepers in particular, training must not only prepare them to deploy, but to lead with confidence and authority. Women's participation in peace operations is vital to the credibility and effectiveness of peace operations. Women peacekeepers often have greater access to local communities, particularly women and children, which enhances situational awareness and strengthens protection strategies and builds trust. Beyond these advantages, inclusive peacekeeping reflects the fundamental principles that peacekeeping operations exist to serve entire societies, reinforcing military legitimacy and long-term stability. Since the early 2000s, I have witnessed significant progress. I have seen increased deployment of women, stronger policy frameworks, and greater visibility in women leadership roles. However, transformation must go further, and I hope to see more women in command, in senior positions in missions, better alignment between policy commitments and operational realities, full integration of WPS into planning, budgeting, and evaluation. True success will be evident when women's participation is institutionalized rather than exceptional. Despite a lot of progress, obstacles remain, and they include gaps between policy, intent, and implementation. We still see a lot of persistent cultural resistance, limited accountability for WPS commitments, insufficient resourcing, and weak data-driven evaluation. For WPS to be fully realized, it must be owned by leadership at all levels and treated as a core operational requirement rather than an optional agenda. To students and future peacekeepers preparing for peace support operations, my message to you is this: competence, integrity, and empathy are all very, very important. It is important that you understand your mandate and respect the communities that you will work with. And remember, your conduct represents not only your uniform, but also your country and the international community. And to women in particular, remember that you belong to peace operations by qualification and commitment, and that you are not there by exception. Lead with confidence, remain grounded in values, and recognize that peace can be built much through character as through capability.